To right, Tyler Tomasino, give a wave, Tyler, and Sean Preston, Jace Ransom, Jim Getsy, and Chuck Chico. Did I pronounce everybody's name pretty close? Pretty good? Great. Okay. I'm going to let them give an opening statement. I'm going to fiddle with it a little bit. Some might be more talkative than others, and we can respect that. We'll just, bring the bow when it gets a little long, okay? So what I'd like to do with this portion is, we don't want to have it like go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the time. I'm going to pick one out of the bowl, and then we'll start with that person, and then we will move in that direction and circle around. So you might have a different rhythm. So don't be, it's like calling on kids when they don't raise their hands. So, it's going to be a little like that. So the first person I'd like to hear from for their opening statement for Council of Penn Hills is Chuck Chico.
Thank you. Thank you for having me tonight. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you all for coming. My name is Chuck Chico, and I grew up in Penn Hills here. Went to Penn Hills High School. I graduated in 1972. When I got out of school, I went to work for the post office for about 14 years and left there and got a job as a school bus driver here in Penn Hills. I drove for 14 years until 2011 when the district decided to outsource the school bus program, and 101 of us were laid off. I landed on my feet though. I found a job at Presbyterian Senior Care, and what I do there is I drive for them. I take them to doctor's appointments, outings, etc., and also head up the security department there for badging and such like that. On a more personal note, I attend Riverside Church. I serve as an usher there. My wife Diane serves as a greeter, and we are both avid Christian believers, and we try to live our faith out. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. We're going to go to the other end and see Tyler next. Tyler Tomasino.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by extending my thanks to the Garden Club for hosting this event, and to everyone who came out to be in the audience. Coming and meeting your candidates and hearing what we have to say is a really important part of the democratic process. So thanks to everyone for coming out. A little bit about myself. I am 28 years old. I have lived in Penn Hills for the majority of that time. I've spent most of my life, my adult life, in the restaurant business, working in various capacities over the years. I started as a teenager, worked my way up through a lot of different positions, and several years ago got into upper management, which is what I've done for the majority of the last several years. Part of my relevant experiences includes adhering to multiple budgets, managing capital expenses, and dealing with the public, which can be really difficult. Working in a high-stress environment, I demonstrated exceptional leadership ability and organization, and for all of this, I was able to build a team using a hands-on approach. So what does this have to do with running for council? Well, I think my experience running a business and the skills required to do so translate directly into what qualities are needed to be a successful candidate. Running a restaurant, you're dependent upon your reputation to keep your business going, and Penn Hills Council must develop a similar reputation that shows its willingness to work with the community to solve our problems and move Penn Hills forward, and that is why I'm running. I feel this election could be a defining moment for Penn Hills. We have an opportunity ahead of us to elect 2 new council members and a new mayor, and there's a lot of great candidates running for this race. So we must act on this opportunity because there is no better time to move Penn Hills forward than now. We need modern, innovative, progressive ideas to attract new businesses, and I can use my experience on the Economic Development Committee to help with this. With all the challenges Penn Hills currently faces, whether it be dumping, code enforcement issues, or sewage rates, I don't think these issues or any issues are challenges that we can't overcome. We should not let these problems define our community, and instead we should be defined on how we overcome those challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Next, we'll hear from Sean Preston.
Good evening, everybody. Before I begin, I'd like to thank the Garden Club for providing this opportunity for you to meet your candidates. My name is Sean Carestas, and I'm running to be your councilman. My lovely wife, Mallory, over there, and I live on Crescent Gardens Drive. I've been a resident for 10 years, and 3 years ago, I had the opportunity to buy my first home right here in our community. I'm an educated man. I hold a master's degree in public administration from the University of Georgia and a bachelor's of arts and science from Pitt. Education aside, I've worked in the pharmacy field for 10 years, and it's in this time that I've had the chance to sharpen my skills and knowledge that I believe a councilman should possess. For example, a councilman should have an understanding of expense and capital budgets. I've managed department budgets worth $120 million a year, and today I'm responsible for $6 million a week. A councilman should have experience in contract review and negotiation. For the past 4 years, I've analyzed and negotiated agreements with the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world. A councilman should have a history of project planning and implementation. When I worked for UPMC, I worked with an amazing team in which we executed a 2-year project that brought 10 hospital pharmacies under one umbrella. Today, I manage 2 nationwide rare disease medication programs that regularly entail communication planning with big pharma, doctors, distributors, hubs, and patients. And finally, a councilman should serve with integrity and never lose focus of whom they serve. Each day, I go to the office with one goal in mind. What can I do to improve our patients' lives? This comes in many forms. Working with foundations to get somebody's high $16,000 copay down to 15 bucks. Making those extra phone calls to make sure a child's injection is delivered on time for their next day appointment. Or simply listening to our patients and physicians when we can improve our service. It's this last point that I believe is most important. If elected, I will never lose sight of the fact that I serve you. Your voice will be heard, and you will have my direct contact information to get in touch with me. I'm well aware that the path forward is going to be tough, but I can promise you this. Every vote I make, every meeting I represent our community in, and every negotiation I'm a part of, I'll have our long-term best interest at the forefront. Once again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to the next hour.
Thank you, Tony. Up next, we'll hear from Jace Ransom.
Good evening. My name is Jace Ransom. I'm a 20-year resident of Penn Hills, a former elementary teacher. I was in the district for 10 years, an active member in the community, a member of the Penn Hills CDC, a member of the Penn Hills Partnership, a member of the Clergy Association. I also am a member of the Penn Hills Education Foundation as well. My present occupation, I work for the Department of Human Services as a community outreach specialist, where I'm on the ground every day in this community and other communities, and getting a sense of what's going on in the community, meeting with residents, meeting with service providers, bringing folks together so that we can best serve the community together, coordinating efforts so that folks can get the most from the public services that are being offered to them in the community. Prior to working as an elementary teacher, I spent a year in Puerto Rico. I was part of a successful management team of a franchise, a shredding franchise called Shred. And then prior to that, I spent 13 years in a faith-based nonprofit called the Pittsburgh Leadership Foundation, where I was in community, again, lots of communities, Penn Hills being one of those communities as well, where I was serving to create and develop youth programming and support youth programming in various communities throughout the city of Pittsburgh. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to come and speak to you, and I look forward to hearing more from the candidates, as well as providing some additional information for you about who I am and what I plan to do.
Thank you, Jace. Next up, we'd like to hear from Jim Getzey.
Are you out there?
We're here.
Does everybody, can they see my name, Jim Gibson? You all know me? I hate this. Okay, I've already wasted some time. I'll start with my senior year in college. I went to Duquesne University. I was about to graduate. And a professor of mine, named Mr. Tucker, saw me one day and said, "Would you like a job?" I thought, this is pretty easy. So he said, the redevelopment authority of Pittsburgh is hiring, they have a new project opening in East Liberty, and they're hiring somebody to do family interviews, housing inspections. Would you like to do that? I said, So I went down and got hired. And residential rehab was a new thing because urban renewal used to tear everything down. Residential rehab, they decided, well, whatever wasn't going down would be rehabilitated. Nobody knew what it was. And they sent me out to East Liberty in a little storefront in a dirty lot with their rubble around me. And I was out there to create my own job. And I have to say I did so successfully. HUD came out to inspect my project after I'd been there for about 4 years and invited me to join them, which I did. More money and a better office. So I started with HUD and I was in community planning and development, which meant I was working in communities where they needed HUD funds to remove slums and blight that didn't have all of the stress and abuse. And I did that, and it was also kind of a create your own job thing. And I was a field rep for about 9 years, and the program manager slot opened up, and I got that. And a couple years later, they opened up a director slot, and I got that. So I started out as a field rep, only responsible for myself, and I ended up as a director, responsible for 21 people. Now, working for HUD would be exactly like being on council, because everything I did for HUD is what I would be doing if I was on council. That is dealing with mayors, councils, residents, and we process grants. So if I could sum up what I did, it was grant management. One of the things I just want to say is economic development is one of the activities that became eligible for the program. And economic development is a buzzword to me. Economic development is, it's like saying Merry Christmas or peace on earth. You know, it's a buzzword, and it's difficult to do. You know, we're trying to.
A little bit more. I promised you I was going to make all you guys look good.
All right.
Do your thing.
So let me just get the economic development. Economic development, I'd like you to think for 3 seconds what you think economic development is. 1, 2, 3. You all know what it is? Well, if you haven't come up with it, that's why. We talked, when Pauline was up here, she talked about getting other money to help with economic development. Well, that other money they're asking for is also their money. It just comes from a different pot. Anyway, to bring this to a conclusion, economic development I could turn into a semester's course. But I want to say, if you want economic development, you have to answer this question. What do you want? What do you want? And is there a market for it? One of the things we used to hear around town is, why don't we have a good restaurant? Because demographically, we don't have a population for a really big restaurant. Thank you.
Okay, Jim. Thank you. Now, Mr. Brodnicki has entered the building. This is Mark Brodnicki. Is it pronounced Brodnicki or Brodnicki? Brod? Brodnicki. He's got in under the wire for opening statements, so we're going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. Again, a little loose on the time limit to express yourself. Welcome to the Garden Club.
I'm sorry I'm late. I was at work and I was at work.
Martha's audience.
But my name is Mark Brodnicki. I've been on council for about 2.5 years now. Married, wife's name is Vicky. We have a couple dogs which we rescued from shelters. One's a pit bull. He's great. The other one's a collie mix, and he's a little hooligan, but he's great too. I have a degree in accounting, business and accounting from University of Pittsburgh, Greensburg. I have a Lamar's degree from West my college. Let's see. I've taken courses in Excel, QuickBooks. I've prepared taxes for H&R Block. I worked at a swimming pool store. I managed that for, 35 years or so. I do everything from hiring, firing, selling, unloading trucks. People with small businesses know what's going on as far as that. We do everything. As far as I'm the one that introduced and got past the Anti-Bullying Act for Penn Hills. I've learned a lot on council, and I want to keep on trying to help you. Thank you.
Very well. Thank you, Mark. I'm going to ask a question. I'd like you all to listen as carefully as possible. I'm going to draw the bowl to see who starts. And again, we're going to move towards Mr. Brodnicki with that and then circle around again. I am going to start the clock a little bit more firmly on this. We're going to aim for something that looks like close to 2 minutes, but you know we don't have a ton of time, and we don't want to tire up the audience too much, and the lights are hot, so we'll have to go fast. Again, when you do an opening statement, a lot of places say no bios at all, just questions. But for council candidates, I sort of wanted to do it this way. It's a little different than the other debate. They've already hit on some of the things we're going to talk about, so I may ask them to detail that or focus it a little bit or repeat it. So I hope you'll bear with me on that. Thank you. The first question is actually for, we'll have to draw the ball. And we're going to start with Mr. Brodnicki. The question for everybody is, what is the purpose of council meetings, in your opinion? Could you comment on the schedule and the structure of those meetings?
As far as the schedule, we used to have council meetings twice a month, from approximately, say, October through May. 3 times in December because of the budget. They cut it back, well, we cut it back to once a month, but I don't think that's enough. In fact, in February, I brought it up that we should return to twice a month. Maybe not in the summer, because in the summertime residents have other things going on. Little Johnny's doing this, Susie's doing that, they're running around. But in the fall, winter, in spring, I believe we should have 2, whether it be a work session in the council meeting or 2 council meetings. I believe we need to have more exposure to the residents, especially with what's going on with the school district and that. It just, people don't trust government. And there's reason, as far as what I could see. I think we should return to that. As far as council meetings with before, of course, it's first of all, to hear from our residents, find out what's going on there. Second of all, to pass any kind of resolutions or ordinances pertaining to the needs of the residents and what you need to do to keep Penn Hills going. And number 3, of course, to pass your paying bills. That's what I believe.
Okay. Thank you so much. Tyler, your view?
So I think the purpose of a council meeting is to obviously legislate, inform the public, but the most important part of a council meeting is to hear from the public. It's really, right now, the only way to access mayor and council is to go to a meeting. There's really not a clear way to contact anyone. As far as how often they meet, right now, getting back to 2 meetings a month, I think, but I'd like to see the town hall format established. That way, I'd like to see that town hall be held not just at the government center. I'd like to see it be held at a rotating location and a rotating time. That way, if you can't get to the municipal building, maybe we have it at the Lincoln Park Community Center one month, or the next month we have it at the William McKinley Senior Center. That way, everybody in the community has a chance to access mayor and council. And the last part, I think that recently the public comment, if you get on the agenda to speak, was moved to the end of the meeting. I think that that's wrong, and that's something I think that should go back to the beginning of the meeting. Not everybody has the time to sit through a 2.5, 3-hour council meeting. They need to come and get their business taken care of, be heard, and move on with their day.
Thank you, Tyler. Sean?
Yes, so naturally, I'm going to agree with Mark and Tyler here. The purpose of a council meeting is to pass legislation and hear from the public. In terms of the schedule today, I'm actually okay with the once-a-month meeting, as long as that secondary option that was spoke about the last meeting, that town hall that doesn't involve the paid staff, is available for the public to just at least express their concerns. I think one of the main things you'll hear from me a lot this evening is modernization. And this is one thing we can modernize. So, for example, the fact that we have to write a letter 10 to 14 days prior to a council meeting in order to be able to address council, come on, we got to change that. Emails should be simple enough. We should be giving folks an easy access to address our council, not put up obstacles. Additionally to that, I want to follow the school board meeting in one particular facet, and that's have a true public comment section. We can limit it to 1 minute if we feel like, we're going to get run over with public comments. Granted, we don't know how many people attend meetings, so it's likely that many people. But truly, you can bring up any topic you want that you feel you need to address the council with. And they will listen to you respectfully. They can choose to respond to you, or they can choose to remain silent. But at least your voice is being heard, and you don't have to wait 30 more days. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. James Ransom.
Okay, so I'm not going to say much different either as far as the purpose of the council meeting, to legislate, as well as to hear from the community. I like the idea of having 2 council meetings a month, one being the legislative meeting, the second meeting being more of an opportunity to hear from the community. I agree. I don't think that we have enough access, residents don't have enough access to council and to mayor. And I do. I agree that needs to change as well. I'm forgetting the third part of the question, or 3 parts of that question.
I wanted you just to comment on the schedule, the structure, and the purpose.
Schedule, structure, and purpose. Well, yeah, spoke about it.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Jim, your thoughts?
Council meetings. I want you to see I kept my jacket on to show you I could take the heat.
I can verify it's warm up there.
Council meetings are the opportunity for citizens to come in and speak to council, and council to tell the citizens what's going on. And that is what it should be. Sometimes it gets a little wilder than that, but that's the purpose of council meetings. I think there should be 2 council meetings a month. I think 1 council meeting should follow the usual format of a council meeting, which is the interchange of citizens and council. But I think a second council meeting should be a council meeting dedicated to a specific activity like the sewer problem. The only thing that would be done at that council is to explain the costs, the problems, etc., and the citizens get to ask questions about it, and no other business would take care of that. And if we could have one of those every month, we could talk about economic development more lengthily than we do now. We could talk about other issues. We could talk about other issues, streets, rehabilitation, code enforcement, in depth, and not just skim the surface as we do at the council meetings now. So I'm in favor of council meetings. I urge people to come to council meetings to know what's going on. In this campaign, I see people have some anger out there and questions. And if they came to council meetings, maybe it would change. The more people there would be there, the more the government would be, I think, responsive to the people. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
The body of the council is to legislate the local government and get the work done. We need 2 meetings also, I agree with everyone here. The first meeting should be business of the council. The second meeting should be open forum for any citizen that wants to speak to be able to speak their mind. I don't believe they should be shut down or cut short. I believe they should be able to speak no matter what the subject is, even if it's against some councilman that's up there. Well, the councilman will have that opportunity to defend himself in that situation. So I believe that's the proper way to do that. And I'd like to see in the future more open government where people can come and ask questions without being intimidated.
Thank you very much. I'm going to draw a number, name, I'm sorry. We're going to start this time with Jace, and the question for all of you will be, and you've touched on this, some of you touched on access, public access, and so this one is about your personal space and your personal contact information. How will people be able to reach you? Telephone, email, Facebook, other ways? How accessible do you plan to be? This is a part-time job for everyone. I think a lot of people in the audience don't understand that under the Home Rule Charter, you you've ceded a lot of responsibility fiscally and policy-wise to a municipal manager who is your full-time employee. And the council is in support of that, of course, and does make your government function. But in the past, I think some of the complaints have been that certain council members and mayors have been virtually inaccessible. I don't know, to be honest. I would like to know, and I'm sure many of you would like to know, what the new space is like with regard to office space. So an ancillary question to this, and I would remind you if you don't treat it, would you be able to hold office hours like your college professor did? All right, so access, contact information, office hours in such a way. And like I said, we will start with Jace.
So, as far as access goes, I'm available. We have the technology today to be able to get in touch with everybody, or anyone at any point. So, my job, my present job, requires me to be available at all hours of the day. And so, my personal cell phone would be available, an email would be available. I would look to my wife to support me in creating a Facebook page as well. I think she's willing to do that. And I am out in the community quite a bit, as I said, because of my present job. So I am also active in the community in various different committees as well. And so I don't think access, having limited access, will be an issue. I'll be available at various times throughout the day, and I do return phone calls or emails within a day of receiving. So,
Thank you. Thanks so much. Jim?
Access, well, I have a flyer that has my name and phone number and Facebook and everything on there, so that's access. Most of the time I'm at meetings where most of you are, so that's access. And I don't think access is the issue because I'm accessible. And since I'm retired, happily, I'm available when most people aren't. I have seriously thought about that, having a time, like pick 2 hours on a Tuesday morning, like 10 to 12, where I would go to the council and have anybody walk in and just talk about whatever they want. So,
Do we know if that space is available? Is there a conference room, or is I don't think, maybe Mark can answer this out of turn. Mark, do you have any offices up there, council? No. What do you have, a mailbox? That's it, or?
Everything goes to the secretary.
Okay.
And then she forwards it on to.
All right, Jim, continue. Thank you. Did everybody hear Mark? Okay.
okay, thanks, Felix.
Well,
I touched a really sore spot with me.
that's fine.
If you've ever seen my Facebook comments about opening up the access of the council room to the public to use as it should be used, we paid for that building. And now we're kind of locked out. So thank you, Felix. I like that entree. And there's a handout here that has my position on 10 things that I think are vital to the community. So read that and you won't have to listen to me so much. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Chuck, your turn.
As far as access, there should be an email address set up for council. Anybody, any resident should be able to email a question that can be answered by one of or all of the council people. So I think that's something that needs to be looked into, and if we don't already have that, we should have that. That would make us more accessible to people's comments and questions. Personally, I would have no problem with my own personal email or cell phone number or text, something like that would be fine.
Thank you. Mr. Brodnicki?
The email contact, that's a great idea. Right now, everything goes to Maureen. She forwards it on to the different council people. We get packets every Friday. If there's any correspondence, we get that then. If it's something important, we are notified sooner. As far as office, there is no offices for council people in this building. There isn't. As far as meeting there, I, like a lot of you, I rush to get here. I work 6 and 7 days a week, but I do make myself available. In fact, one time I got contacted on 4th of July, and I made sure I got a hold of that person on a holiday. So access is a great thing. I believe that email would be improved.
Okay, thank you. We're with Tyler now.
I think the root of our accessibility problem is our transparency problem. There's no clear, concise way to contact council or the mayor. Not a lot of people know this. The mayor does have an email address, but I don't know if they go unread or they go unanswered, or both maybe. I think that all council people should, and the mayor should have an email address provided by the municipality to conduct business and to hear from residents. Everybody I've encountered throughout this process, I've already been handing out my phone number, so handing out my phone number if I was elected would definitely not be a problem. And as far as office hours goes, I think moving to a town hall format would really help with that. A lot of people do work, so office hours aren't always possible, but I would definitely commit to an evening or a weekend time to meet at the library, or the government center does have a conference room, or wherever we could meet to be accessible to anybody.
Thank you. And finally, Sean Carestas.
Yeah, so much like Jim, I've also been passing out postcards that has my phone number on it. So right there's some pretty easy accessibility. My email address is carestas@gmail.com. Doesn't get any simpler than that. I know, that's the tough part. I knew it was there. Would you like a yard sign so you remember it?
It's a good Hungarian name. You should know it.
At any rate, the thought that we have about a true Penn Hills email address, how has this not occurred already? We pay already for web domain space. It would literally cost nothing to assign an email address to every council person and put terms in place for us to respond to residents. If you don't get a response, come to a meeting and tell that person face to face, hey, I emailed you with my question. Why didn't you respond to me? I bet the next question you answer will get answered at a much faster pace. With regards to office hours, certainly open to the idea. I also work full time, but I have no problem meeting after hours, an evening and a weekend each month. If the municipal building isn't an option, the library is always an option to meet up with one of our local businesses, grab a cup of coffee, and just chat about the issues that you're concerned with. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. That ends that round. We have a little bit of a parking issue. Brent, why don't you come up here and describe what your issue is? And he's been blocked in, but I don't know where he's parked. Maybe you can help him.
It's fine. Are you up on the hill?
Yeah.
All right, we'll dismiss these two for a minute as we move on. You'll work out your parking issue. Thank you so much. So, this is a question that's a little similar, but these are the kinds of things that grassroots politicians need to think about. So, as a part-time employee with a real life and big responsibilities, trying to keep Penn Hills people happy, which probably isn't very easy. Would you classify yourself as a nebby person? Will you sort of always be on the case, looking around, making notes, looking in driveways, checking out dumpsters? Is it going to be something that you're going to pursue all the time? Or are you going to have some kind of limits that make you not a nebby person? All right? That's a little weird, but are you on duty 24/7 in some way with your eyes and ears? And we're going to start with Jace. I think he's the one who didn't want to answer this question the most when it came out.
The answer is, of course.
Good.
Certainly, being aware of what's going on, and not just in one or two areas, but the whole of Penn Hills. Getting out to various different locations that don't necessarily have to do with shopping or anything like that. Out to the areas where there are parks, driving through neighborhoods, walking the dog, that kind of thing. We do have a dog, and I think that the short answer to that is that certainly I would be out and about, like I am now. Taking notes, mental notes, as well as physically taking notes in regard to what I see, making sure that the mayor is aware and the community is aware of what I see as well. And then we can create some plans around that as well.
Very good, thank you. Jim?
Before I answer the question, I wanted to do this earlier, introduce my campaign staff. Chief of Staff Andrew warned me against roaming. So am I doing okay? Okay. Leon's puts me on Facebook and all that stuff. Thank you. I think I used that.
If anybody wants equal time for that, they're free to go for it.
Thank you. What was the question?
How nebby are you?
Okay, I don't like the term yet.
I don't like it either.
I want to use.
I'm a Midwestern elite. I never heard that before.
Am I debating with you or what?
You may. We have.
I like the term interested. I like to know what's going on. And I think that's been evident in my activities in the community. So yeah, I like to know what's going on. Because I am retired, I'll be accessible. I will be doing what I normally do, is come to meetings and pick up the and stuff like that. So I'm accessible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for bearing with me on this question. Chuck?
Okay, where I live on Shannon Road, my wife and I, it's my wife Diane, if anybody would like to we are part of the neighborhood watch group. And I think as a council person, you can't be everywhere all the time, but here's a good idea. Have neighborhood watch groups helping you watch that particular neighborhood. Have several of them set up all over our township, and you can cover more ground that way. Myself, yes, I'm Debbie.
All right. Mark?
No, I'm not going to stare in your window. I've volunteered up in our community center. I've been all through the municipality. You want to check on things to a point without being obtrusive. I've reported things to code, have them check different things. It's their job to check into it after I find something. But I believe you have to keep your eyes open. But again, don't stare in your neighbor's windows, please.
We're not advocating for that. Tyler?
I think the word NIMBY has a negative connotation to it. I prefer observant,
Very well.
which is what I am now, so I would have to do nothing different. In and around the community all the time, when I see something that blatantly needs reported, that's what I do. I was doing a litter pickup a couple of weeks ago, and we were going up Verona Road, and you get a chance to see things that you don't see when you're driving. And did I take pictures of a couple of really bad houses and report them? I sure did, because they are one of the problems that need to be fixed in this community.
Very well, thank you. And Sean?
So, much like everybody on this panel, the answer is yes, I will be NEVI 100% of the time in Penn Hills. You know, it leads me to the thought of there being two types of council person historically, right? One type is a council person who's a council person the day of council, and then you don't hear from them, and they really don't do too much, and they don't introduce any legislation. And the other type of councilman's out there every day looking for issues, trying to get resolutions. I would certainly be the latter. Another area I'd like to hit on quick is just the accountability of our municipal employees. I think it's perfectly reasonable if I see a code violation, when I report that to code enforcement, to expect an update in 24 to 48 hours. The team I work with today in the pharmacy department, I tell them I need a response in 24 hours, and if hour 13 comes around, they know I'm going to ask, hey, do you have an update on that? So I will stay on top of things, not only with my own site, but also throughout the municipality. Thanks.
Great. Now, Sean did, he showed his psychic tendencies slightly. And the next question we're going to start with, actually, I can't start with this again. Poor guy. We're going to actually start with Mark this time. It is about doing your homework outside of council. And so I'd like, and some of you have already hit on this a little in your opening statements, but I'd like you to underline it because if it's important to you especially. But what is the importance of doing your homework, reading these reports, asking questions if you don't understand these copious reports, and if you have a flair for analysis or a talent for processing this information, we want to know about it. So we'll start with Mark.
You have to do that. That's your job. Let's say if we have something as far as no parking. I'll ride up there, take a look at it, see if it's reasonable or not. I've argued for, I've argued against different no parking areas. Sewage, I've talked to our engineers. I mean, it's not easy to comprehend all the first time. I talked to our engineers as far as what's going on, why things are expensive, what we can do to bring down the cost, if we can't, different alternatives in that. You have to do your homework.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Tyler?
I think, like Sean just said, being a council person is not just being a council person once or twice a month at 7 o'clock on a Monday night. You do have to be observant. You do have to do your homework. And when someone contacts you about a problem, and if you don't know the answer, you should research and find the problem. I do this all the time. I'm really big on litter and illegal dumping. And I have notes in here of stuff I researched on programs that we could implement or certain laws that we don't enforce or could enforce better. So I think doing your homework outside of a council meeting is absolutely important.
Thank you. And Sean?
Yes, I will certainly do my homework. In my opening statement, I touched on my background, so I am quite analytical, and if I have questions, I'm certainly not afraid to ask, for answers. I think the homework step, though, needs to be taken one step further. So it's not so much understanding, the resolutions that are coming up, or what have you. It's seeing what's working in other communities. So it's talking to, the communities around our area and seeing what the best practices are, and then seeing if those best practices meet the needs of Penn Hills. I hate the idea that Penn Hills for so long we kind of have this do it our own way, flair, we don't need help from anybody. I completely disagree with that. All these communities around us are in the same boat too. So it doesn't hurt to ask for outside counsel, so to say. And then finally, in terms of doing your homework, I'm going to be an independent vote. I'm going to make my own analysis, and when I come to that analysis, I'm going to make my own decisions, and my vote will be based on my decision alone on what's best for the community.
Sure. So certainly, you need to do your homework. You need to know what's going on, why we're doing it, and what the ramifications are, whatever we decide to do. Sean hit on the fact of finding best practices outside of the community. Part of my role at the Department of Human Services is just that. I am in lots of other communities, getting a sense of what is working, not just around economic development, but more so community engagement, which is something that we really need here. And that's the opportunity not only for elected officials to share out what's going on, but also an opportunity for residents to be actively involved in shaping what decisions are made in the direction of the community. And so John spoke about the Orton Foundation, and there are many wonderful models out there that are working in lots of different communities that we could use. The question is do we know about them? And part of my role that I see if I'm elected is bringing that knowledge to the community, having us take a look at it, and then deciding whether or not that fits us or not. If the model doesn't fit us, maybe parts or tools that they're using do. And so let's use what's working in other places to work here as well.
Very good. Jim?
Thanks for the slow ball. having worked for the government, most of my job is spent reading Federal Register, a lot of fun. I have the unique ability to write things that no one else wants to write and read things no one else wants to read. So yes, I do a lot of homework. I read things. Last night I read the Home Rule Charter, and well, it was disturbing. Well, not all of it, not all of it, a couple of parts of it. But anyway, yeah, reading stuff is just what I've done for a living, and what I do, and what I'll continue to do.
Very good. Chuck?
Where I work now, Presbyterian Senior Care, they initiated a policy. When we receive an email from any employee, we have 24 hours to answer it. If we don't answer in that time, they want to know why. So I believe that doing homework, the diligence, if we do set up an email type system where you can email questions, those questions need to be answered promptly and accurately as you can. And yes, going outside of our district is definitely a plus. Getting other input and what works in other communities is helpful.
Very good. Yeah, let's have a little round of applause. You're doing great. The next question is, and the first person out of the gate for this one is going to be Mark again. Wow, I score these really well. I do it all the time. I do all these 50-50s, and oh well, it's Mark. And he might be apropos to answer this one, since it has to do with the relationship between council and mayor and the municipal manager. How can you make the decision-making and power relationship work for you when you're working with 4 other people and a municipal manager who in some ways is the real worker? So how do you influence this? How can you be heard? And what collaboration can you do with the other members of council? Mark?
I just want to hit on that homework question just for a
Sure,
second.
yeah,
here.
absolutely, sure.
Something that I'm trying to work on now, we have a contract with Hawkins for animal control, okay? And we're working the contract, trying to get a little bit better. But I tried to take a little bit further. I contacted Dan Rossi down at Humane Rescue League. They have 2 huge places in Pittsburgh to see if there was any no-kill shelters that does this sort of thing, and to get ideas from him. And he said, no, there isn't, but I should contact the county to see if they can group in municipalities together to do some kind of animal control. I contacted the county, they're not up for it, but they sent me to take a look at what Mount Lebanon and some other surrounding communities are doing there. They're grouping together. And I'm thinking, that could be a good thing. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but that could be a good thing if it works, because Hawkins serves 102 communities, over 102. And they're the only show in town. So if they do not obey their contract, we have no other place to go to. So if we get some competition going with something else, an alternative, maybe we get some better outcomes.
Does this reflect on the collaborative nature of working with the rest of the council on this project?
That had to come up
and the,
once I get some results as far as that goes. But as far as
what I'm really trying to get at here, and you might know more than anyone else, is what is it like to walk into the municipal manager's office? What footing are you on? Are you presenting or are you receiving information? Is it equal? Is it a give and take?
It's a give and take.
And how should it be?
It's a give and take. What council people have to remember, and they don't always, is that these people that we have working for us, they know their jobs. We pay them big bucks, and we should get as much information from them as
Sometimes we pay them twice or 3 times.
Yes, yes. But we should milk them for information. And we should listen to what they say. They're doing this stuff every day. And if we don't like what they're saying, maybe we should check with somebody else and double check what they're saying. But these people are people who know what they're doing. Now, if they start coming up with bad results, okay, then we got to look for different people as far as that goes.
Now, for all of you in the future, now, and again, I'm going to keep Mark on the spot for just a second because he's been there and you want his job. What does it feel like to disagree with the gentleman in that chair who is being paid big bucks?
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. But sometimes you have to listen to what they're saying because, again, in a lot of cases, they know a whole lot more than you do.
Okay.
You can't just presume that you're going to walk in there with an idea and it's right, and then all of a sudden you have 3 engineers telling you you're wrong. You can't keep on saying you're right. Okay. You have to listen to people who look at this, who know what they're doing, or you have to get new people, as far as that goes. But that's why we have them there. As far as working with council and the mayor, you're not allowed to have more than 2 council people together at one
Okay.
time for the sunshine law.
That's good information.
So you cannot, you all get on council and say, we're going to do this, and discuss it yourselves, and come to a meeting and say, this is what we figured out. That's all supposed to be done in front of the public, as far as that goes. 2 people can talk amongst themselves, see what they think. You can't get a third in there.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does, and it helps frame for the other gentlemen their answers, I hope. Thank you. Tyler, do you want to elaborate on these questions? If I need to clarify it a bit, I will, but
I think I got it. So
Okay.
the relationship between council, mayor, and the manager.
Correct.
So the way the home rule charter is set up, the council and the mayor legislate, and the manager runs the day-to-day operations, and the manager is appointed by the mayor and council. I think there has to be a good working relationship between those 6 people, and I think without a good working relationship, I think everything starts to really break down. It's kind of like a check and balance or a balance of power, but we do have experts on certain issues that we employ. We have a director of public works, we have a police chief for a reason. I think we need to rely on them and not assume that any one council person or the mayor or the manager knows everything about one particular subject.
Thank you so much. Sean?
Yeah, so again, much like everyone so far, I believe that council, our manager, and the mayor are equals. As a new councilman, if elected, obviously it's going to take a little bit of effort on my part to put myself as an equal amongst them. That really comes with credibility. And how does one earn credibility? Well, first of all, I've always thought that what's the saying? You get more flies with honey than vinegar. I'm not going to go in there thinking I know everything, because I don't know everything. I'll ruin that right now. It's important to listen to, like you said, the people we pay a lot of money for, the field experts, and take what they're saying and process it. Don't make quick assumptions based on what they're saying. With that said too, I think if I'm having a conversation with the manager and they disagree with me, well, I need to go back to the drawing board and come back with more sound logic. It's okay to disagree, but if I feel passionate about something, and frankly, I'm missing something to get my point across, and I need to do my homework again. Yeah, that's all I got.
Very good. Jace?
So clearly, we're a team, and we need to function as a team. And so I grew up playing football and running track in high school, and then moved into college and did the same. So I'm very familiar with the team concept, the give and take that comes from that as well, holding folks accountable. There's no reason not to ask questions. When something is presented to you, you ask questions so you're clear in regard to the information that's being presented. If you're not clear, then you continue to ask questions. We have experts, and I agree with everyone, what everyone said in regard to experts. But being expert doesn't mean that you're flawless either. And so we need to be nebby, use your word. We need to be nebby in this process so that we're aware, so that we can also then share that information with the community in a way that they can receive it as well.
Very good. Jim Getson?
I am the candidate who has spoken at council numerous times. Speaking in front of an audience like this, speaking to the mayor, speaking to council, I am also the candidate who has the singular distinction of having been dismissed from the podium twice. Unceremoniously. But this doesn't stop me, so really I have no thresholds.
Very well. And Chuck Chico.
Speaking last, I have to agree with everything everybody said.
And that's fair. That's why we do this by
And
lot.
I like this last on this question.
Well, I just can't seem to get the other.
That's okay.
Go for it.
But I do believe that, yeah, there has to be open communication on all council, manager, and the mayor. They have to work together. You can't have a different opinion without sharing it with the other people. I think everybody needs to work together. It's sort of like a marriage. You have to have open communication or else it'll fail.
Very well. I am going to give my voice just a rest, and Jim Beck is going to come up here. I will give it a little introduction. We have been privy to a lot of comments from sitting politicians, to one on council, one is a legislator in our state government, and there are also lots of opinions about a certain concept. The concept is that Penn Hills is a bedroom community. So I'm going to hand this over to Jim, who'll maybe flesh it out a little bit more, and he's going to ask you what you think.
All right, well, Dan, he stole my cool intro here. Because I was about to say, it's getting later in the evening, it's time for a dirty word. And I was going to ask you to guess what that dirty word is. But he told you. Bedroom community. So here's my question, and it does have multiple parts. So Penn Hills has long had the label of bedroom community, mostly, and this is my definition. Feel free to clarify. But when I hear bedroom community, I think that it mostly indicates that business and economic development has lower priority than in communities that are not given that label of bedroom community. Do you see the bedroom community label, this is question number one, do you see the bedroom community label as an easy excuse to not pursue economic development efforts? And the second question is, if you look at archival, historical photos of Penn Hill shopping areas from say the 50s through the 70s, it shows a community that's flush with businesses like, and I'm dating myself here, Red Bull Inn, Sweet Williams, private bakeries, mom and pop businesses, et cetera, et cetera. So how do you reconcile that image with the image we see today of multiple empty storefronts and shopping areas, both of which are considered to fall under the label of bedroom community? Okay? And the last part of the question is, would you pursue moving us away from that definition of bedroom community?
I've already drawn from the bowl, and Mr. Getze gets the privilege to begin this one. I will hold I'm going to give the mic back to Jim if he wants to manage this in some way, and rotate them that way.
If you need a refresher, let me know on the questions.
I'm going to ask everybody to stay after this session so I can talk about bedroom communities. I'm limited. Take that term bedroom community and throw it away. Every community has its own characteristics. To say a community has a bedroom community doesn't imply that you can't have anything else. It happens to be a large suburban area which was popular to start in the 50s, and they built these large tracts of homes and called them bedroom communities because people slept there and worked elsewhere. It's a meaningless term. You can't designate a community to be a bedroom community. If you have a community and they have needs, if you need a store, you have a store. You say we can't have a store because it's a bedroom community. So it's a buzzword that really annoys me to say that to use the word bedroom community excludes some other preference. You can have business, you can have industry, you can have anything you want, and you can have a bedroom community, and they can all work together, provided they meet the zoning requirements. And so it's a trite term. Get rid of it. Every community has its own characteristics, and if you have business, you need homes, and if you have homes, you need business.
Growing up in Penn Hills, I frequented Penn Hills Shopping Center quite often, and Eastfield Shopping Center. And they were both thriving in the 50s and part of the 60s. I believe what happened there was malls, Monroeville Mall, other malls opened up. It took away the business from our local merchants and sent it out to these mega malls. And we need to find ways to give incentives to business to come back to Penn Hills, to reopen here, to move their stores here for business. As far as bedroom community, I don't like that term either.
I prefer just to call it a community, as far as that goes, not put a label on it. Every community needs stores, it needs a gas station, it needs a place to shop. As far as attracting more stores to come back, that's a huge problem all over the place. Stores are closing down because of the internet. People aren't going, malls are closing. So that's a very challenging thing there. I'd like it all to come back, do it again, but that's a huge challenge to fight the internet right now. But I would not put a label on it. Whatever. Penn Hills is our community.
Would you have a plan to deal with the leftover buildings, in the wake of internet sales taking away everyone's business, not just in Penn Hills? What do we do with all that storefront?
Storefronts, I would put in there things or try to attract things that people need right away. Food, restaurants, that sort of thing. Restaurants, you're not going to buy restaurants from the internet. Okay, you might buy a pair of shoes, okay, and things like that. I would go towards that sort of thing there, more service industry.
So I think the bedroom community label is a self-imposed stigma. I think it does us a disservice. If you're a company and you're researching a community that you want to go into and you see that we call ourselves a bedroom community, why as a business would you want to come here? It basically sounds like we're unwelcoming to businesses. I think economic development has to be at the forefront. It's one of the biggest challenges we have to overcome, and we can support businesses because if you look around, we have a lot of empty storefronts that tells us there were businesses here at one point. We need a thriving commercial corridor that would help us elevate our tax base and take the burden off the residential taxpayers. One of our biggest assets and our biggest drawbacks as far as economic development is our location. We're sandwiched between Monroeville and McKnight Road and all these other places. Target's not going to build here. They have a location in Monroeville, they have a location in Harbor. We have to start looking at smaller businesses and local businesses to fill our storefronts. Communities close by that have the same problems we do, like Millvale and Sharpsburg, they've turned to breweries, which are really a popular thing to go in old buildings, especially old schools, which we have a couple of old schools we could fill. And not only does it give a place for the community to go, it also brings in people from outside the community. 5 years ago, if you'd asked me if I was ever going to be hanging out in Sharpsburg on a Friday night with my friends, I'd have told you you're crazy. But now that's where we go because that's where the businesses are.
So, with regards to the bedroom community term, yeah, I do think it's an excuse to not do the hard legwork that's required to bring in businesses. I really do. In my mind, that legwork looks like a brand new comprehensive plan for our community that lays out the next 15 years. Go through our coding, see if it makes sense for today's needs. Maybe we don't want a new comprehensive plan, I don't know. At any rate, this is the key. We need a new strategic plan moving forward. My vision personally is to revamp that entire Road I corridor. One of our greatest assets is truly our parkway access, and we have no services off that offering. So how do we fix that? Well, we build a new comprehensive plan that details, a section of the businesses that we want, but also, get on a PR firm to advertise our commercial property and list all the reasons why this is prime real estate. One other thing I want to add about bedroom communities is my generation, the folks you're trying to attract to buy all of our wonderful homes that are affordable, they don't want bedroom communities. My generation wants the services close to them. They want their community to be walkable. They want, clear parks and bike trails and things of that nature. My idea for a comprehensive plan would address all these items. We need to turn the page and move into the future. Lastly, brewery idea, brilliant. Yeah. I am 100% on board with this, but we're going to take this a step forward. Think about Verona. They have 3 breweries coming in. So what they do, they laid out legislation to identify where they want their breweries and the proper code enforcement for them. We need to do that. If we want a brewery, some local brewmaster to come in, we get a little bit of free advertisement by passing resolutions saying, hey, Penn Hills has designated this area for a brewery. That gets people thinking, wow, they're interested in what I'm trying to do here. I have a friend who's opening up a brewery in Verona. It is literally across the street from the Penn Hills line in Wildwood. He did not even consider Penn Hills as an option. Verona's getting 3, we're getting 0. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. So the term bedroom community is antiquated. I agree with everyone here. It's not a term that we should be using. And I think it also leads to one of our biggest struggles here, is identity. I'm not real sure we know who we are. I don't think we've taken the time to understand how we've changed over time. We certainly haven't taken the time to take a look at the assets that we have. What are those things that really draw people to our community? Build upon those things. We spend a lot of time talking about problems, and rightfully so. But we don't spend enough time talking about the assets that we have. And what happens is as you spend more time talking about problems and focusing less time on your assets diminish and eventually go away. And so some of those things, some of those assets are the very reasons why people stay, or the reasons why people come. And so, again, I think we have an identity problem, and I think we need to take the time to get a sense of who we are today. Not who we were in the 1950s when that term was given to us, but who we are today, and what we offer, what we truly offer. And I do believe, it was stated here several different times, that we do have wonderful assets here. The diversity of the community is one, location is another one. I'll say this, 4 years ago, my family and I were looking to leave. I was in the process of being furloughed over and over again as a teacher, and was just very frustrated over work and everything else. And through much soul searching and conversation with my family, we decided to stay, and I'm very, very happy that we did. One of the reasons that we decided to stay was because I'm a country boy. I'm from a very small town called Ford City. It's on the Allegheny River, about 45 minutes northeast of here. And I wanted some more space. I wasn't accustomed to the closeness of the homes. One of the great assets that we have in this community is the fact that we have a huge area, first and foremost, and then we have a very diverse area. We have areas where there are homes that are very, very close together, more urban. Then we have the suburban feeling as well, where we have areas where there's some space between homes, and then we have some homes that have quite a bit of space between. Not country, not rural, but folks from the city might consider that rural. And so we were able to find a spot that fulfilled my little country boy desire, right? Where we have 2 acres, plenty of deer, turkey, fox. We had chickens, but fox ate the chickens. Nonetheless, beautiful spot in the community that I wasn't even aware of. And so I think that's a rich asset that we have as well.
Thanks, Jason.
You went first. We were a long round.
Okay.
Well, the reason this comes up, just a little bit of framing again, is that Mr. Underwood, who's presently on council, has put this forward many, many times when any innovative plan has tried to come to Penn Hills. Anything innovative like chickens. Well, it's the oldest and the newest thing, but it's a good example. It's very negative about that. So it's refreshing to know that I think all of these candidates see the mixed use potentials for Penn Hills, and that they also realize that it's changed. I'm going to have Betty come up and ask her question, and then we're going to do a couple rapid fires, and then you'll close. All right, thank you.
about this question. It's the same question that I asked the mayoral candidates concerning the Rodi Road problem. And I've heard several references to that corridor and the problems that have it. The answer I got from a current council person was that, well, they applied for money from the state and they were reviewed. Of course you're reviewed. There are a lot of hands knocking on that state coffers. It's about having a long-term vision and being persistent. They reviewed you this year, you're still there next year. You're there after the next year. You've got a vision of what can be done. That's what I'm asking about. How do you see that vision in say like 20 years from now, you would have a decent corridor, and that corridor draws people. If you've got easy access in the Penn Hills, those services that we have could grow. I think a lot of the businesses would succeed. You wouldn't have so many empty storefronts. It's just not feasible. I'll give you a story that I heard about. If you remember when the Brewsters was down on Rodi Road, and they did excellent business, but not enough to sustain. I think there were some other issues, but one of the issues I kept hearing is that they were on the wrong side of the road. People going to work in the morning do not stop for ice cream. When they're going home the other way, they will stop. But they stopping and going down, now you've got a left turn into there, a left turn out. Would you stop going home to get through that? No. So that's probably what some of the other businesses like that, who have discretionary products face. So I'd like to hear your response to being persistent and having a vision for Rodi Road.
Everybody loves Rodi Road. Well, I've already picked the victim, and the first victim is Sean.
I haven't been the victim yet, so that's fine. I think we share the same vision for Rodi Road. It begins right at the offering, and that's where we need to start. And what it looks like is us advertising to commercial developers that property that's for sale there on the left-hand side. I think it's something like 5-6 acres, something like that. Always starts with one restaurant or whatever, ideally it'd be a brewery. And like you mentioned, that now becomes a hub, right? People coming off the island. And then we move from there. I don't really like the excuse about the road issues and turning. I will say, admittedly, I've gone down the wrong way on Rodi, and I really wanted a Dunkin' Donuts coffee, and I said, it's too hard to turn here. I'm not going to deal with that. We've all done that, right? But if we attract more business there, if we have more traffic going down Rodi, the state will act on it. They're not going to let traffic jams occur. Think about Oakmont Bakery. They had that no left sign in about a week and a half because they realized it was a problem. And the Oakmont community reached out to their state officials and acted. You're right, it's going to take a long time, but we need to start. And not to go back to my previous answer, but it starts with a comprehensive plan. It does. You need to show, the state coffers that not only is this an idea, here's what we intend to do in the next 10 years. And we're going to take it, here's our 3-year stage plan, here's our 5-year stage plan. It sounds easy enough to me, and I know it's a lot of hard work, but this isn't hard. We need to build the community that we want to build. Very quickly, the shopping center and how it's slowly getting more decrepit. Well, we hit that, from both angles. So, carrot and stick, as they say. Code enforcement, we need to get on the owners of that shopping center and ensure, they're keeping the upkeep where it needs to be. At the same token, we need to offer them incentives as well. I'm all about giving some sort of tax abatement for new businesses to come in. What about our existing ones? Why can't we give them a slight tax break to, beautify their building and attract in more businesses? It shouldn't just be new businesses that we're focusing on. The existing buildings can be referred, they might need some incentive too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Jason?
So I agree. I think we need to be persistent. We need to continue to ask and then ask again and then ask again about Rodi. But I would also ask you to think a little bit more of diversify We are an enormous community, and I think the example I'm going to use here is the redevelopment. I shouldn't say redevelopment. The businesses that have sprung up on Salzburg Road, which is Salzburg and Universal. So if you take a look at Rhode Island, right? For me, that's the middle of our community, right? And that's the main commercial avenue for us. But we also have other areas in the community that can be built up as well. And there are folks who have done their due diligence in making sure that they can make revenue off of wherever they're putting new stores. So, for instance, when you look at the end of Salzburg and Universal, you have an Aldi's, you have a Dollar Tree, you have a new O'Reilly's auto parts store, not auto parts store. You have McDonald's there, and you have your other little franchises, your Subway, etc. And a new Dollar General as well. Those would not be there unless they know that they're going to be making money. So I think that we go where the businesses are telling us to go as well, not just on Rhode Island, but let's take their initiative as well. They've done the time, they put the money and the time and the effort into studying this, and let's continue to build up not just Rhode Island, but these other areas where we see investment happening. So that would be my response to that.
No more food.
Very good. That was thoughtful. Jim?
Betty, I'm not sure. I hear two things in your question. I'm not sure which one you're asking, so I'm going to answer both, okay? I'll play Dr. Jim on this one. If you're talking about expanding Rhode Island Road, making it wider and more accessible, that's not going to work. If you go to a doctor and say, I have a pain in my chest, and he says, oh yeah, but your eyes are good, that's not what you want to hear. You want to hear how he's going to take care of your pain in your chest. Rhode Island Road, we looked at this one time when the CDBC got started, Rhode Island Road improvements. If you try to widen Rhode Island Road, on one side you have a hill slope, you can't go that way. And on this side you have private properties. You would have to claim those to be eminent domain. It would be expensive because they are commercial properties. It would be financially infeasible to do eminent domain and clear that corridor. So you are going to be stuck with the width of Rhode Island Road for the foreseeable future. The other question is, as it stands now, Rhode Island Road, excluding widening the road, what can you do with the businesses? Well, or the other side, you can enforce your zoning codes. I think the zoning codes have in there a stipulation about landscaping. You can enforce that. I do think, since we've been here, the shopping center looks a lot better with the bank and the landscaping they have there compared to what it used to be. It used to be just a cutoff onto a tar field, and now they do have landscaping. It looks a lot much better. So, but I think if you attract any businesses, they have to comply with what you've got there. If you have any businesses that are not in compliance with zoning or code, you have to enforce that. And mostly you have to attract businesses that will comply with certain building requirements, so as not to make it look like Las Vegas, but to make it look like an entry to a nice community. And to answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Chuck?
Now, part of the answer to that question is the squeaky wheel gets the grease. You have to be persistent. You have to keep approaching state, whatever it takes to get that funding. But as far as Rhode Island Road goes, back in the 50s and 60s, that was a very good road because there wasn't as many cars. There's a lot of cars now. If someone tries to stop and make a left or right hand turn, you're tying up traffic. To put a third lane, middle lane in, turning lane, that would be the answer. But as Jim said, the width of the road doesn't allow it, so I don't really have an answer to help make Rhode I Road a better road. Going outside of Rhode I Road is probably a better idea as far as taking businesses, finding places like around Salzburg, like they said. And there's a lot of land out there. I think Walmart was going to move in at one point, but they didn't. And letting businesses have that property to open and expand.
Mark?
Rhode is a problem. I've approached our state senator and our representatives about widening. That in Route 30, or 130, excuse me, Route 130. Traffic is horrible there. I mean, you get backed up from the country club all the way up to the parkway. You get behind a garbage truck, it has 10 to 15 minutes on your trip. Coming up the hill from Full Line. It's horrible. They say nobody complains. As far as eminent domain, they bought up along Route 22 and built that all up, and that area is thriving now. It's thriving. Traffic is horrible on both. I heard years ago there was a plan to widen Rhode Island Road, and the council at that time turned it down for whatever reason. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So I've talked to them, and they keep on talking to them as far as, they say there's no money, they say there's no big complaint. Well, just like you said, the squeaky wheel, you've got to keep going at it.
Very well. And Tyler?
Okay, so I kind of have like a three-step process here that you could apply to Rhode I Road, but you could probably apply it to just about most of our problems. The first is we have to address our current issues. Rhode I Road is pretty much a concrete jungle. We do have zoning, and we do have zoning laws, and a lot of the businesses up Rhode I don't have the correct landscaping, so that is why it looks like a concrete jungle. That's something we could easily enforce. The litter up Rhode I Road is just about atrocious. There's probably more litter per square foot in the Long John Silver's hillside there than there probably is anywhere else in Penn Hills. And no, does code enforcement ever go knock on the door at Long John's and ask them why? I don't think so.
I did.
And what'd they say?
They said, we don't even have a trash can. I said, get one.
So the second step would be to develop meaningful relationships with our state and county partners. It's my impression that we don't have a meaningful relationship right now. And that goes toward being persistent, always talking to them about ways we could improve areas like specifically like Rhode I. And then after we develop those relationships, go after that funding. I did do a little bit of research, and in 1997, the state did allocate money to widen Rhode I Road. I was a toddler then, so I'm not really sure what happened to that money or what the plan really was, but it was a significant amount of money. I also did research and found that the state plans to invest a decent amount of money in Rhode I in the next 20 years in their 20-year plan, but they didn't really give any of the specifics. So I think if we do want to have a vision for Rhode I Road and we do want to update it, I think now is the time to try to work with the state to get that vision.
Okay. Now we're going to do literally 1 minute each on the next 3 questions, then you're going to conclude. So this question is it's tricky, but it's advantageous to pretty much anybody. And we'll start with Chuck. How does your age affect your effectiveness on council?
I am slowing down. I'm going to be turning 66 this year. And I'm looking forward to retiring from a job, but I believe that's going to give me a lot of time to help with the government, local government, and council. So as far as that goes, I don't see age as a factor. I think it's more of a wisdom question. You need wisdom, and age brings wisdom. And I think wisdom is really vital in this community right now.
Thank you so much. Mark?
I haven't thought about that one.
Well, you're sort of in the middle.
I'm 61. Well, I'm going to be 61 in, I don't know, 9 days. Okay, so I think I've learned a lot of things not to do by doing them. And I think it just gives me more experience, but yet I'm not that old, but I can still get out there and do stuff.
Very well. All right, look at the whippersnappers. Here they come.
I think age. I think it gives me a young perspective idea on bringing different ideas to council. I think if you would look around nationwide, there's a trend of younger people getting involved in politics. And I think you would find, maybe not in all cases, but in a lot of those cases, those cities where those younger people are involved are thriving. That being said, though, I don't think that age should be a factor. I don't think you are too old to serve on council, and I don't think that you're too old to help your community. I think that anybody that is willing to help your community, we should definitely try to have them involved.
Very well. And Sean?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think age has that big of a factor. Myself, I think I can bring a more modernized view of what I want for Penn Hills. One thing I will add is that I don't have a vision of what Penn Hills was back in the day. So, I'm not trying to recreate what it once was in its past because I wasn't here for it. And I especially wasn't here for it because I didn't grow up in this community. So all I have is a vision for what the future should be. And I hope the other councilmen will also support that vision and not be stuck in what the past was for this community.
Very good. Jace?
So I think age, as Chuck mentioned, I think it's about experience. It's about having the opportunity to have lived a little life and had opportunities to make connections in various different places, whether it's government or the local community. For me, I'm middle-aged at this point, and so I just got a letter in the mail for my AARP card. So, yeah, it's great.
Congratulations.
It's great. It's great for me.
They're hard to get.
I think I agree. I think with age comes wisdom, but I also value the fact that younger folks come with a different perspective, right? And we need all those perspectives here in this community because we're made up of all those perspectives. So it's important.
Super. And Jim, here we go.
What was that question? All right. I knew this was going to come up.
We all do.
Tony DeLuca is a year and 4 months older than me. And Joe Biden's about a year younger than me. So when those two step aside and call me, I'll say what I'm going to do. But I challenge you. Anybody who thinks age is a factor, first of all, I bring a lot of experience from the government. And I'm talking the big government. The one I work with.
The big one.
And the other thing is I'm pretty active, and I go to the gym probably 4 times a week. I walk, and age to me is irrelevant at this point to me anyway. Good health. So I challenge anybody to a 2 out of 3 scramble game, and follow me around, and I'll take you on a 5-mile or a 10-mile walk and talk about whatever I want to. If you want to do that, fine. If you have any questions about my age after that, we'll talk later.
Sounds super. Hey, is anybody here concerned about the fact that the mayor is also attached to a large municipal vendor? If not, why not? If so, why? And is the fact that she abstains from votes sufficient to negate any ethical issues? It should be a quick one. We'll give it to
Good
you.
question.
Mark.
As long as the vendor is providing the service it's supposed to provide at a price which is less than anybody else is willing to put that service out for, I don't have a problem. And I think it's very proper to abstain on anything that has to do with that vendor, as far as that goes for her to do. If that vendor's getting kind of special treatment, that's a whole different deal. But as long as that vendor is providing a service it's supposed to provide at a price less than anybody else is willing to put out, I don't have a problem.
Greg.
think that any elected person, no matter where it be here in Penn Hills or anywhere else, should have anything to do with any service that that government body is contracting to that governing body. I don't think that anybody on council or mayor should have any kind of connection with a business if it's related to their family or their friends. So I would definitely support a anti-nepotism policy, because I think that's been a real problem over the years here in Penn Hills, and I think we're probably one of the few communities that doesn't have an anti-nepotism policy, which is pretty mind-blowing.
Sean?
Yeah. Why is this okay? It might be legally okay, she abstains from the votes, but ethically, this is nepotism in its truest form. You are paying relatives for services. Absolutely not. No.
That was quick. Jace?
I agree. It's a conflict of interest, and so therefore, it just shouldn't happen. Shouldn't happen.
Jim?
Speaking about reading off hours, I was reading the conflict of interest provision in the Home Rule Charter yesterday evening with Andrea, and in my opinion, although it's the most convoluted paragraph of English language I've ever seen in my life, I've come to the conclusion that the couple words in there say that she is the beneficiary of a business. She is married to a man who has a business, and she is the beneficiary of the income of that business. I've looked at this before, and I've said it before, it is a conflict of interest. She says, well, I won't vote on it because I'm related. She's the beneficiary of the proceeds of that business. And Andrew, do you have that with us? Would you run down and get that? Look, if you have access to it, look at the Home Rule Charter, and I'll tell you what, I'll put it on my Facebook, okay? And you could read that language, if you can. But I think I think she's been in violation. And when I looked at how you can correct that, you would have to go to court. It would be such a long, drawn-out process that individually or as a group, it would be impossible to do. But did you hear my final conclusion? It's a conflict of interest.
Chuck Chifo?
Thank you for asking this. I'm not a big fan of the current mayor. I can't wait till she goes away. Be it Pauline or John, it'll be an improvement. As far as the nepotism goes, I think that should have never happened, and I hope in the future, whoever is mayor and the board and council do not let the nepotism continue.
Very well. You're very firm on this, not many of you. Interesting answers. The last thing is, I'm going to let you just talk for about a minute or so on something that the mayoral candidates got a chance to get into a bit. Do you have any comments or suggestions about the code enforcement, litter, dumping issues? They're all sort of put together. If you'd like to just put together some thoughts about any improvements that council, you on council, or council in general, could make to litter and code enforcement, I would love to hear them. And we'll start with Chuck.
I don't know if any of you remember the old commercial of the Indian standing on the side of the road with a tear in his eye. And it brings tears to my eyes driving through Penn Hills and seeing the litter. It's terrible. It appalls me that people don't care. I was putting up one of my yard signs, and I saw a gentleman pull up to a red light and dump out his ashes and a bottle of water, just right at the red light, and then when the light changed, he pulled away. I don't understand why people do such things or why they don't care about their community. But I do pray that in the future we can change that through enforcement, raising the fines, putting up signs. Just if you see it, report it. If there's some kind of videotape that we can catch them on, whatever it takes to stop that, I'm on for it.
Right. Mark.
Some people are horrible. They just throw garbage out the car, out the window, couple McDonald's, whatever. It's so hard to pass charges against somebody like that. As far as dumping goes, I was talking with the manager a couple of days ago, and we're talking about increasing the fines, maybe up to a couple $1,000 instead of $500. So they actually perch these people when you catch them. Installing more cameras, so we can, and limiting the people who know where these cameras are, so the word doesn't get out. So we can actually start catching more people.
Thank you. Tyler?
So I could probably go on with code and littering and dumping for a long time, but I agree with what was said earlier tonight by the mayoral candidates. Code enforcement has to be proactive instead of reactive. But there is a lot that we could do to try and curtail the littering and the dumping problem. Last year, the state passed the Litter Enforcement Corridor Act. It was Act 62 of 2018. It's nothing that's ever been brought up in Penn Hills. It would allow for stricter enforcement of people that are caught and also higher fines. If you go down Mount Carmel Road, right now in Penn Hills, if you're caught littering, which no one's ever caught, the fine is $300. You go right over to the city on Mount Carmel Road, and there's a sign that says that the fine is $10,000. And I think that that would deter people a lot more. I'm very fortunate in that I've gotten to travel a lot over the years, both for work and for leisure. And I would say that littering is a Pittsburgh problem. You go in other parts of the country, and there is no litter. I've been to Boston many times, and there's no litter in Boston. The fine is $10,000. They have cameras everywhere, and they have a beautification campaign, which I think we could really, really benefit from. Litter breeds litter. So if people see litter, they're going to keep tossing out garbage.
Thank you.
Yeah, everybody's right. We need to boost our fines quite dramatically. With that said, though, I think the main issue is a culture problem, especially in Penn Hills. I know some of us have talked about this before, but it's okay for people to litter around here because, oh, well, the street's already full of garbage. What's another piece of paper? What's another bottle? How do we change that dynamic with our community? Have a higher sense of pride where we live. I don't have a good answer for you. I really don't. But it starts with the community wanting a nicer place to live. I believe we need to be a little bit harsher on businesses to clean up their properties. I know me and Tyler were talking about the other day, and one of the excuses that's given out there is, well, we don't know where to send the fines to. Well, if it's a franchise, send it to the corporate office. And if you anger the corporate office, I'm sure they will lean on that franchise, and that litter will get picked up. And keep doing that a few times, and I guarantee you, it will be part of someone's shift to make sure there's no litter outside.
And Chase?
Sure. So I think this goes back to my question of identity, right? We have to find a way to show folks in the community that this is a great community, and tell them why it is a great community. There was a comment that was made the other day, or there was a comment made in regard to that question about Mount Lebanon. There's no trash in Mount Lebanon. Well, I'm not sure if that's really true. But the question is why? If it is true, then why? Why is that community cleaner, quote unquote, than ours? And I think some of that has to stem from the fact that people may not view our community in a positive light. I think the other question is, who's doing the littering? If you're looking at some of the areas off of Lincoln Road in particular, you got folks who are coming from the city dropping their trash off in our community, right? And so the question is if it's us, if it's our residents, that's one thing. If it's someone else who's coming into the community and dumping trash, it's something different. I do think that the camera ideas is important. The question then is enforcement, right? So we can put up as many cameras as we want. The question is whether I'm going to follow through with enforcing the law as well. So.
And Jim Getzi?
Is this my last turn tonight?
No, you'll get to conclude after I compliment you all.
I will pass on this one. I'm going to save my comments for the conclusion. But is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. So, we could go on and on and on, and I know we went late. But I really do want to thank you. Everybody's exhausted, but I'm very impressed with what we saw up here on the stage. This is real grassroots politics, and I think we should be very, very proud of these gentlemen. They were forthright, and they gave us a lot tonight, and I think we should be very, very proud and thank them with a round of applause. If you've never run for public office, it's not easy to do, and it's very thankless sometimes. So just keep that in mind if you get that idea. But I think it would be great if you all did too. I didn't run actually for this position because I saw the talent, and I thought I don't need to dilute this field anymore. So I thought what I could contribute would be this forum. So I'm really very gratified that you did come and gave us a chance. And if anybody came in late and the room was packed, I think that we had some real energy here. So carry it on. The election's coming up, and it's not that soon. There's a lot more energy to put out there. So at this point, I'm going to let the candidates conclude for a couple minutes each, and we'll draw the winner to start. And it's Chuck Chiefo.
I have three main points that concern me very deeply as far as our township. The one is the litter problem, and everybody here agrees with it, and I pray that we can find a solution for that. The other is volunteerism in the fire department and funding of the fire departments. They need volunteers very badly. They're down on membership. I've talked to a couple chiefs, and they would love to see more volunteers. So something I would like to see done in council and through the mayor is that we give these persons that volunteer some kind of tax break or incentive for volunteering. If they're going to go to school, if they want to go to CCAC, reimburse their tuition. Whatever it takes to get them educated and to get them volunteering. And the last thing that bothers me is some of my neighbors are on very fixed, limited incomes. They're elderly. They are scared to death of losing their homes because of increased property taxes. I would love to see if there's a way, a freeze for people that are on limited and fixed incomes, that their taxes wouldn't go any higher, that these people could stay at their homes. Other than that, everybody up here has excellent ideas. I'd love to be incorporated to all of them, that we could all help with the council, but unfortunately there's only 2 seats. So I just ask that you think and use your voting power wisely. And the last thing I want to say is that today was a National Day of Prayer. Please pray for our community.
Thank you, Chuck. Mark.
First, thank you for putting on this event, and thank everybody for coming out. Had a lot of good ideas. A lot of ideas as far as community development, rehabbing neighborhoods and that. This may or may not be a popular item to talk about, but the other night I was talking to some of my friends out in Murraysville, and I asked them, what would you do to improve, to get businesses to move into Penn Hills? And they said, stop the shootings. We have to get the county more involved. Our police force is a great police force, but we need help. I mean, I have not lived here that long, about 5.5, almost 6 years. So I still cringe every time I hear something like this going on. We have to get the county more involved. We've gotten a couple traffic cameras from them. Monroeville had 8 or 12 of them. East Hills has a bunch. We have to find out why they're ignoring us. And I think that'll help a lot. Another thing is speeding through neighborhoods. We got to cut that back. I would be in favor of like a roaming, have the police sit there and ticket people and move around in different areas. I've had 2 head-on collisions within about 250 to 300 feet from my house within the last couple of years on Verona Road from people speeding. We have to make people feel safer this is what people are seeing on the news about Penn Hills. If we can stay out of the news for a while, I have a feeling we're going to do a lot of businesses. Again, thank you for bringing this on.
Tyler?
So I just want to wrap up with, again, thanking the Garden Club for hosting this event and thanking all the residents who stuck it out this long to hear all this. And also thank all the other guys up here. I think there was a lot of great ideas. I think there's a lot of great minds up here, and I'd be honored to serve with any of these guys, not just on council, but for anything. I'm not gonna get into anything new. I'm just gonna repeat some of the stuff I said before. You know, we have a lot of challenges facing our community, whether it be illegal dumping, code enforcement, high sewage rates, lack of transparency and communication. And I don't think any of these issues are challenges that we can't overcome. We should be defined by the way we overcome those issues instead of by how those issues are affecting us. This starts with no longer accepting the status quo, which is what Penn Hills has been for a long time. We need a council that will work with and for the community, a council that will work with the school district, even though they are separate entities, as we're often reminded, and a council that allows all residents to have a voice and empowers them to get involved. This election, I ask that you vote for change, and let's move Penn Hills forward together. Thanks.
Thank you, Tyler. Sean?
I'd like to once again thank the Garden Club for hosting this and the 24 of you that have remained this entire time.
These are the smartest ones.
You know, I have homework for all of you tonight, and that's please tell your neighbors, Facebook, anybody that you know in Penn Hills, tell them what you witnessed here. You witnessed 6 people who care about this community that want to foster change. You know, and I'm not even telling you to sway them one way or another. Just tell them our ideas to help drive more people to the polls. It's so sad when turnout's at like 19% for a presidential year, and it's, the same people making the same decisions. If people care about this community, get them out to the polls. People ask, why am I running for council? It's because I live here, and I believe I can fix this community with all my heart. I put down roots here. I have no intent of leaving anytime soon, and my top priority is truly that comprehensive plan idea. How can we move forward if we don't have something in writing that we can show to all the stakeholders? With that said, we need to include everybody. That includes the school district. I know we like to say that's their problem and this warring party over there doesn't get along with this state official over there. Enough of that crap. We need to start working together for one community. Thanks.
Thank you, Sean. Grace?
Well, thank you for hosting us, and again, thank everyone for sticking it out. Again, I want to say that I think one of the more difficult problems that we have is being able to identify who we are. We're changing, and we really need to take the time to determine what our assets are, what are the strengths that we have here. We know the problems. We know what the problems are, and we're going to work on those for sure. But we also need to understand what we have to offer as well, and then we can market ourselves. If we don't understand who we are and label ourselves, someone else is going to do that for us, and it's already happened. So we really need to go out, get a sense of what our assets are, get a sense of what it is that we can offer, what we do offer, what we can't offer, and then begin to share that with our neighbor, begin to share that with a colleague that doesn't live here. We need to be the best cheerleader for our community. And then when we have negative things that occur, like every other community that's out there, we have something to bounce that off of that's positive. And so I encourage everyone to get out and vote. Please do. And I want to thank all the candidates as well. Great guys up here, really great guys. And I worked with quite a few of them already on different levels. And just to appreciate the honesty and the sincerity and authenticity. They're authentic. The authentic words that they provided tonight. It's late. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. All right. Jim Getzey will close the evening.
This is one time I'm happy to be last. When I started the campaign, I because I was involved with social media, which I had not been involved with before. And excuse me, concerned about the anger that I see it. It's been building up for so many years without any real outlet. So what I want to say this evening is there are 5 independent council people running who are not endorsed by the Democratic Committee. And John Petrucci is on council, is an unendorsed, he ran as an unendorsed council. He's running as an unendorsed candidate for mayor. He has no ties to the people who control this community for the last 20 years. And what I'm asking, whatever combination of us prevails, that you, the voters, turn this whole thing over to the new team, not to go back to what we've been doing for the last 20 years. Put a whole new team on the field with all these ideas and get started again. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.